All right, I'm at RSA at DevSecOps in Singapore, and I just saw an amazing presentation. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Paul Culmsee, and I was talking about ambiguity, teddy bears, and fetishes.
Yeah, so get that. But it was awesome because, he was, first off, he's got a book that I've already ordered, and I'm going to read it on the flight home, and because he talked about it in his presentation, but this idea that, adults still have their teddy bears. Like we walk around, I've been saying this for years, that, you use you use all these kind of shields, like, no, we can't do this because PCI, or we can't do this because, you want to talk about that kind of whole teddy bear?
Yeah, well, the contention really is that, the whole point of teddy bears for kids is they allow, it's attachment theory, they give a source of stability for kids to then cope with new situations. So, a little kid wants to sleep over at someone else's house, as long as they have teddy bear, they can handle it. And the contention is that, or the important thing is, kids eventually will drop their teddies. They'll reach that next level of maturity and they'll go, oh, well, I don't need it anymore. They'll symbolically let it go. And it occurred to me, actually it was a conversation where it all started, but it occurred to me that adults use teddy bears a lot. And in fact, the way it happened was someone was telling me about attachment theory, a psychologist, and I said, oh, that explains every methodology-obsessed purist I've ever met. And my co-author of my first book said, actually, someone wrote a paper about that in the 90s. And so this idea that adults still use teddy bears, and like kids, if that process of growth or that process of change gets disrupted, it can become a fetish. And you've all had kids who can't let go of the teddy, and it just becomes an anxiety reducer. And so too, I guess if you've seen people that really dogmatically implement either a certain model or a certain methodology, they have that same kind of fixation on the teddy, and it's no longer a means to an end, it's just the end in itself. And interestingly, most people are completely unaware that they're actually...
No, I mean, like when you put it so simple in like example, like a SWAT or an ITIL or these are like these teddy bears, and we're constantly fighting this, and like it's just so simple. One of the other things I loved you said is that if you pull that teddy bear out of their hand early, like
if they're not ready for it.
If they're not ready for it, right? And that's the chronic core conflict of trying to change, right?
Yeah.
Understanding how to work around that teddy bear, right?
That's it, and that comes, I guess, with facilitating diverse groups, right? But it's certainly true that a lot of people with best of intentions, they've got their teddy, and they go, oh, this is the answer. If take DevOps as an example, we must do DevOps, and so you almost, to some people, you're going, here, I'll have your teddy, thanks, because your teddy's kind of ugly and not really, but here's mine. Mine's much prettier. And I think the instinctive, you do that with a kid. Like, no, I want my teddy. Give it back.
But this one is cuter, and like it's gonna be.
So you got to encourage people to sort of loosen their grip, right? Particularly if they're ambiguity intolerant, and a lot of this is driven by ambiguity.
But if it sounds like we're just talking like cartoon kids, right? Like this guy is deep into complexity theory. This is backed by like a lot of like research and literature. Even though you're talking about teddy bears, if you saw the long format. So tell me about your book.
Oh, well, there's two. So, but the most recent one was all about, both books are about wicked problems. Wicked problems being, a lot of people understand complexity, complicated versus complex, particularly in agile circles. Wicked almost turns up the dial to another notch. So imagine, in the book we got a little dial, like Spinal Tap, tame.
11.
11 is toxic, and 10 is wicked. Wicked problems are cognitively complex, socially complex. You've got very divergent views, and just as you think you got a handle on it, the whole problem changes on you again. And so the classic wicked problems would be, healthcare in the States is one, the gun control, that's, and even urban planning, city planning. A lot of the term was actually coined in that environment. But it's
because complex systems, where they just like you think you have a checklist, but step one, the first thing you do, you just change the butterfly effect of everything.
Exactly.
Now, like, so you have to you have to deal with that constant iteration and complexity, right?
So the book's really, the first one is about how to deal with wicked problems, and there's some strategies. And the second one, really, what I noticed after years of doing facilitation inside and outside of IT was just all the different ways people handled ambiguity and the different reactions. So academic types or systems thinking type people will study it and never take an action, but they'll talk like they are. And then you get sort of, the forefront of the IT industry, they'll just go straight in and just learn by doing,
like
right?
Engineers,
I looked at the idea of ambiguity, how to actually harness it, rather than run away from it or try and checklist it away as if that makes it go away. It really doesn't. But it gives the illusion. Rationality feels good. So the more rational something feels, it's sort of
that's right,
that part of the brain. I was encouraging people to learn to be a bit more ambiguity intolerant,
Yeah.
but also how to harness it, and actually how can you get people to drop their teddy bears or at least loosen the grip.
No, I loved it. Like I said, I see a lot of presentations, and when I see a good one, I get like kind of chills. And that was, like
I really
how we
appreciate that.
put all that together. I'll put a bunch of links out to his book. I'm going to be reading the book, both of his books on the flight home, and I saw you had a pretty good catalog of some YouTube videos out there.
Yeah,
so
I got YouTube
I'll put some
videos
nice
on
links out there.
facilitation
and
process
I'll
and
be
all that
following you because I really
Cool, I'll follow you back.
I dig your style, man.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.